Welcome, joy chasers and tender heart collectors, to a sparkling new chapter from Turkish Spotlight Secrets. The vibe in our studio today feels like a window thrown open to a seaside morning, clean, bright, and touched by something pure. In a landscape where stars often slip away to secluded hideouts and candlelit corners, Hazal and Kagate have quietly rewritten what a romantic escape looks like. No secret rendezvous, no velvet ropes. What seized every feed this week wasn't a whispered affair, but a sunlit celebration of family love. Get comfy, because we're unpacking a surprise getaway that not only showcased how solid this bond is, but also delivered the softest, most heart-melting image of Kagate we've seen yet. Before we wade into dunes paved with giggles and sunscreen, a little reminder: if you value the way we bring you these stories with warmth and dignity, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Turn on notifications so joy can find your doorstep without knocking. And if you'd like exclusive videos, behind-the-scenes whispers, and early access, tap the join button right now. Your support makes it possible for us to keep spotlighting the moments that truly matter. Now brace yourselves, because little Mavi completely stole the scene. The news drifted in like a salt-tinged breeze in the middle of winter's routine noise. Hazal and Kagate, the duo who keep millions holding their breath, pressed pause on calendars stuffed with back-to-back shoots, rehearsals, and deadline-fueled meetings. The headline wasn't the destination, a quiet coastal paradise away from the roar of the city, it was the company they chose. Rather than vanishing into seclusion to feed some cinematic version of passion, they folded family into the heart of their rest. And glowing at the center of that constellation was a bright, tiny star, Mavi, Hazal's beloved niece. This wasn't a catwalk in disguise or a power play by the sea. It was an unambiguous declaration of priorities. Off the set and far from the glare, they shed the statuesque titles that follow them and simply became what the moment asked for: a doting aunt and a gentle, all-in uncle. The images that slipped into the world, now digital keepsakes shared like charms, frame an almost pastoral piece. No sleek yachts slicing the horizon, no thumping music behind velvet curtains. Just the hush of surf, the warm hum of sunlight, and three people savoring the miracle of being exactly where they wanted to be. What turned the internet's murmur into a chorus was, without question, the way Kagate moved through those moments. The paparazzi shots, mercifully unobtrusive, came across less like a tabloid ambush and more like accidental portraits of tenderness. The leading man we often see brooding or brave on screen appeared lighter, even boyish, anchored by a quiet joy, playing at a child's pace. One frame shows him carrying Mavi high on his shoulders, steadied hands and easy balance, like a gentle giant guiding his favorite explorer. Another captures him kneeling in the sand, shaping turrets and moats with the patience of a craftsman who cares about every grain. The comments poured in. That's the Kagate we adore. Mavi is lucky to have an uncle like that, he looks like the perfect dad. The net effect? A subtle but powerful reintroduction, not just a heartthrob, but a man whose values align with small wonders and soft responsibilities. Let's take a tender pause, Turkish Spotlight Secrets family. These images stir up daydreams, don't they? Here's our question of the day. Is this sunny retreat with Mavi a sign that Hazal and Kagate are leaning toward the next chapter, perhaps ready to expand their own little universe? Or is this simply two people fully present, honoring what is precious now? Drop your takes and your feels in the comments. If this kind of uplifting story brightened your screen, tap like. And if you want to help us keep this gentle spotlight glowing, becoming a member with that join button is the best way to stand with us. Now, more details and more heart. On her part, Hazal once again reminded everyone why she's seen as one of the most family-centered actresses of her generation. For all the scripts that chase her, her devotion to Mavi is unmistakable. In the photos, she radiates, and it isn't a filter doing the work. It's the unguarded glow that appears when a child you adore is laughing freely. Hazal wasn't supervising from the shade. She was on the ground, elbows sandy, hair wind-tossed, making sure the little one's day was a treasure chest of firsts and favorites. Her look, constantly attentive, did all the translating. Success tastes sweeter when shared at the pace of a child. Guests who crossed paths with them describe a relaxed Hazal who always checked the small details, had adjusted, water sipped, sunscreen reapplied, before thinking about herself. Even some critics, those who usually sharpen their sentences to a point, softened and admitted the obvious. For Hazal, family doesn't sit on a to-do list, it sits at the center. The way Kagate folded into this aunt and niece rhythm was the quiet triumph. He didn't hover like an outsider vying to belong. He clicked in as if he'd always been part of the mechanism, another piece of the Kaya family's happiness machine, moving in perfect, tender time. From helping Maeby chase tiny waves to keeping her giggles going between sandcastle renovations, he never rushed the moment, and he never framed it as a performance. He simply lived it. The shore felt less like a destination and more like a sanctuary where their private language, play, pause, protect, could be spoken without translation. The ripple effect was immediate and, refreshingly, free of cynicism. Timelines filled with screenshots and grainy zooms, but for once they carried a warm glow rather than a jab. Followers praised their calm normalcy, the absence of vanity, the obvious ease. Many read Maeby's inclusion as a signpost. This is what a stable bond looks like. You don't invite a child into the center of your retreat if your love is fragile. You do that when the ground is steady. This picture says everything, wrote one user. A real family, wrote another, as the clumsy frames from telephoto lenses became symbols of something solid that didn't need statement pieces to be seen. Even with curious eyes on them, the couple never veered into spectacle. There was no orchestrated pose, but no evasive maneuvers either. They smiled for a handful of fans, exchanged a few kind sentences, and melted back into their afternoon loops, proving fame and approachability don't have to be enemies. Their return to Istanbul, caught in that familiar airport limbo, found them dressed down and sun-kissed, carrying a stillness that had nothing to do with jet lag. Reporters tossed questions like pebbles, they let the pebbles roll away. The smile said enough. And now, with unpacked bags and new scripts fanned out across dining tables, the entertainment world is whispering, what's next for them? What this trip laid bare is simple and rare, trust without seams. The rumor mill went digging for hairline cracks and instead hit a wall made of gentle gestures and small choices that add up. There are murmurs of a frenetic season ahead, of shoots that will test endurance and projects that will stretch them in different directions. But the postcard they mailed to the world from that stretch of sand reads like a promise. No matter how crowded the calendar, they know how to return to the shore inside each other, and to the one thing that keeps all the lights on, connection. Insiders close to the couple insist there wasn't a coded announcement buried in this escape, no calculated reveal, no chase for headlines. It was just two people choosing to breathe in the same rhythm for a few days. Still, the message that followed them home is hard to ignore. Hazal and Kagate don't need glittering magazine exclusives or choreographed declarations. Their quiet was eloquent enough. The way they knelt in the sand alongside Maeby, the interruptions of laughter mid-conversation, the ease with which they shared responsibilities, those were the lines of a love letter written in footprints, erased by the tide and then written again, because joy kept happening. It feels like a palate cleanser, doesn't it? To discover that beneath the glamour and the contracts and the expectations sits something wonderfully ordinary, two people finding their biggest smiles while coaxing a turret to stand or counting tiny shells like talismans. Maybe that's the secret the weekend whispered, success is not just measured in ratings, awards, or opening nights. Sometimes it lives in the simplest kind of symmetry, a sunny day, the right company, and the soft certainty that you are exactly where you should be. Here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets, we'll keep our eyes and hearts open as this family story writes itself in real time. Will there be more trips like this, briefer or bolder? Will this new layer of calm and maturity shape the roles they choose next or the way they play them? We're listening, and we want to hear you too. Tell us how this makes you feel and where you think the story might drift next. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on that bell so our updates find you without fail, and if this video brought a smile you didn't expect, consider joining our members-only circle with the join button. Thank you for dreaming with us, for celebrating love when it looks like a headline and when it looks like a handful of sand. And yes, we'll be here for the next soft revelation, the next little surprise, the next time Hazal and Kagate show us that home can sometimes look a lot like a beach. And that joy, when shared, can be as simple as a child's laugh carried on the tide. Because there's one last image we can't stop replaying, the three of them walking back along the waterline as the afternoon cooled, Mayvide between them, fingers looped into bigger hands. The wind kept tugging playfully at Hazal's scarf, a corner of it brushed against her smile. The sun slipped lower and softened the edges of everything. They didn't hurry. They didn't pose. They just let the day end on its own terms. Maybe that's what love looks like after all the noise, a quiet walk back, a promise tucked into the ordinary. And for once, the whole world didn't want them to move any faster. It wanted to walk with them, exactly at that pace, all the way to wherever the shoreline disappears and every footprint meets the sea.